Hey there, and welcome to Matt's Garage and part 11 of my Neoru build series. So the Neoru, if you didn't already know, is a custom all-wheel drive Dodge Neon. If you want to know more beyond that, I would recommend checking out the previous installments in this build series. Today we're going to be building a custom rear bumper out of 12 gauge steel. I'm going to be integrating this 5,000 pound winch into it right up in here behind the factory rebar, and I'll be mounting it up to this trailer hitch, which will be integrated into the rear bumper, and then I'll also be putting these 4-inch LED off-road lights into each corner of the bumper. So watch along here, this is going to be a fun one. Okay, well, first of all, check out this paint. This is after 3 days of curing, so I didn't get to show it this nice at the end of the last episode. It turned out really good. As you can see, I got everything set up to start fabricating on the rear bumper. Okay, just a quick little update here. First of all, I was able to get that stuck hitch out of the receiver there. I had to heat it up with a torch and beat that out with a hammer. It was all rusted in there. And then I also removed the rear sway bar. I didn't want that in there because it reduces articulation and ground clearance, and also it makes it ride rougher. It'll ride nicer now without it, and it really won't make that big of a difference in handling. I've also removed the charcoal canister here because it just hangs too low at the back and ruins my departure angle basically. And I also don't think it was working properly anymore. It smells really strong of raw fuel, which is a sign that it's not working properly. They're supposed to store like fuel vapors, and then the engine can burn them off later. So I'll be removing it. I still have to vent my fuel tank, of course, so I've narrowed it down to those 2 vent hoses, and we're going to route them into just this piece of exhaust tubing. I'll cap the end with a couple ports for them, and on the other end I'll have it capped with a single port, and I'll just put a little filter there so that it can vent the vapors out at the back of the car here, and it won't be able to draw any dust into the system. So I'm just going to hang a plate on the side of the frame rail here, and that plate will also tie back into the Neon's original frame rail right there. So I've cut a couple of templates for this. This is the piece of plate that'll hang up in there like that, and it will basically be this drop section here is where I'll fasten the hitch to. So I'm actually going to be cutting 2 of those out of this, which is 3/16 plate. You can see that's really thick. So those are the pieces I cut out. These are the 3/16. So those will essentially be the new brackets to hang the hitch. And then I went ahead and cut the old hitch mounting brackets off because they just weren't going to work. And I'm shortening up the hitch to just fit between the new brackets, and then I'll weld it back on. It says, "Do not cut, weld, or modify this receiver." Whoops. Okay guys, I just wanted to take a second and talk about mufflers, because I was going to put this factory Subaru muffler back in. It's got a nice tip on it and it's in pretty good shape, but the big problem here is I simply don't have the room. You can see that's where it went originally, and because the car ended up being shorter at the rear here, I really don't have the room to put it in there. And then even if I was to cut away at the bumper and try and make it fit up in there and stuff, it still hangs lower than the trunk pan so it's ultimately going to cut down on my ground clearance, on my departure angle, and it's just, you know, it's heavy and takes up a lot of the space under here. So my solution is this. It's nice and light. Of course, it doesn't have much for baffling in it, and it's going to make the car pretty loud, but I think it will be worth it because it's going to tuck right up there, so it will keep my exhaust really high if I'm driving through deep water or anything like that, and it, of course, will be high enough it's never going to get hit by anything up there. So that is the plan, to put that up there. I have this really nice tip that fits right on it, and you can see how nicely that's going to go right up in there. You can see I'm all prepared to start working on the exhaust system. I don't have a firm plan, but this is how I get started. I just have all these pieces of, they look like junk exhaust pipe, I know, but it's actually all good stuff that I saved off of vehicles I wrecked and stuff. Like this pipe's just muddy. It's actually pretty much brand new. Got a nice newer flex joint there, and I've got a bunch of mounts as well. I cut the mounts off the Subaru muffler there. So I'm just gonna, obviously I don't need all of this, but I'm gonna need bends off of a lot of it to make it all work, because I don't have any means of bending pipe. So, and as you can see, this is all a bit bigger, so that's the plan. Gonna be an exhausting task, but I'm ready for it. That's gonna work out pretty nicely there. Well, it's the next day here. All that paint's had a chance to dry, so I'll be working today on welding in these plates and getting the hitch hung and the winch mounted up in here and make sure all that fits. Okay, well, you can see I've got the tip on here. I've just got it protected with some masking tape, make sure it doesn't get scraped up, and then I added a hanger back here. You can see I put a plate up there. I didn't just weld it to the floor pan or anything, so that's really solid. And then I utilized the factory hanger right there. I had to rebend it a little to get it to line up, and then I just added this hanger right here. It even has a fancy heat shield on it and everything. Okay guys, I got this plating ready to go for tomorrow. I just cleaned all the mill coating off of it there, and I went ahead and seam sealed everything here. I just have one coat of rust paint on it, and then I seam sealed it, and then I'm going to put a couple more coats on. You can see all under there, everywhere, even around here and everywhere, because guaranteed all this area is going to get water on it, and we don't want it getting in those seams. And I won't be able to get up in here, up here, good after I put the winch in, so had to happen right now. Okay guys, here we go. I've got the Miller Killer cranked up over there, and we're going to weld this plating on here. I actually changed my contact tip. I want to make sure these are the best welds possible, so. Okay guys, there it is. You can see they all turned out pretty nice. But right now I got a weld right here. I got 3 spots on the other side, you can see there. So I got to find a way to clamp this together tight in here. As you can see, my clamping job is nothing short of innovative here. Yep, little trick for you. If you got a giant pair of channel locks, you can use them like a pair of vice grips if you've just got an old hose clamp. Fits the handle. Okay, well, there it is. It's not as pretty as the other side because the access just isn't great and I can't get a direct hit on it, but I also got up in there done, and everything fits tightly. You can see under here how tight that is, how nicely it forms to the frame rail. So now we can start the next step of the process once I clean up some of those welds, particularly the ones right in here. I need to clean up right behind here because we're going to put that piece of box tube in there and we want it to fit flat on here, of course. You can see I buzzed off all those welds and just straightened this out so that this piece, you can see that'll fit right up into there, and it's going to have a solid bead down the corner. It's going to tie into there, and I've also put a couple of spot welds through. Okay, well here you can see how those welds all turned out. And in there I got those look really nice. Those look really nice. And up the corner looks really nice, and a couple spots there. Okay, so I've got this piece all fitted in there nicely, but there's this big notch I had to trim to clear the corner of the trunk pan in there. So here's the piece I cut out, and actually I'm able to just weld it right back in there. You see how nicely that fits? That beauty, guys. There, I just went over those welds with the wire wheel. Okay, well I just got everything marked and prepped for surgery here. I'm going to be cutting the excess off the end. I knew these were too long, but I wasn't completely sure where the hitch would be located. So I waited until now so I could figure all that out. Okay, by the time I square up the ends on this hitch, it should pretty well fit. One thing I'm noticing is I just cleaned this up last night and it looks like it has flash rust on it already. I don't know how that shows on camera, but that just looks kind of browny orange to me. Even up in here does. Not too happy about that. Normally I don't have that happen, but we have really high humidity right now, so it's happening. Okay, so I've got these all trimmed and ground nicely, but that thing's still pretty darn heavy to hold up there. So what I'm going to do, hold it up there and just spot it on in a couple places, and then I can check everything, including the angle of the receiver. I think that might work for how level it is or isn't. Okay, I think you can start to see the plan unfolding now. How nicely that fits together. See, I get a nice tight joint that way, and now I can cap the ends, and then I can cap underneath, and when I do that, it's gonna join it all together again. And then you can see how the winch will fit in there. I'm just gonna go and grab the winch because I'm worried about clearance in here. Oh yeah. Okay, well, I'm ready to get started welding this together now. I've got everything prepped out, and so this is where this bracket's going to sit. I think I'll give my poor welder a break. It's a little more than 10% duty cycle there. Okay, I'm pretty much done with the winch mount here, and I just have to weld up the ends. So I'm going to give the welder another good break here before I do that. Okay guys, it's all welded on there. Cleaned it all up, and I'm just getting ready to spray some paint on it. Reese and I are just here at the shop, and last night I got a quick coat of paint on here. Just one coat, because I'm going to be grinding this back in a few places and welding to it still. Okay, so I just want to add a little piece of plate just under here to box that area in and fasten it up to this face. Okay, well there we go, just a couple of those made up of just 12 gauge. I figured that would be good enough, and they're just going to weld right under there. Okay guys, here we go. You can see kind of making some progress, getting stuff put together here. I had this template made up, and as you can see, so that's kind of the profile that I'm looking for, I guess. Okay, well, I'm kind of a visual person, so I just did a quick little mock-up here with some masking tape, and for sure that's where the plate's going to go. I'm real happy with that. These lights I'm going to think on a bit more, because it ends up being a little bit busy over there with the tip and the winch and the light all in that little area. Okay, I believe an official plan has been formulated. I'm going to actually put these lights up here, right next to the plate. Okay, I'm just going to call it a night here. You can see I've got the profile of the bumper figured out now, and I've got these two braces. I actually cut them into the piece of factory rebar there, and so that makes my profile. I have a couple more pieces that come in here, right there, see? Okay, well, little progress update. I got those all solid welded up. I decided to do both sides just to stabilize it really well. And then this is a final brace right here. This over here is a temporary brace, because what I'm actually going to do here is make a recessed area around the tailpipe, and then those bracings will just fasten into it, and then I'll be able to remove this. Plus I'm going to add a piece of round stock to the edge of this, because this is the final edge. And I actually have this. It's actually a handle off of an old toolbox I had that broke or whatever, and one of those rolling toolboxes, you know, so I just saved the handle for this, and you can see that's going to make a really nice edge on there. so that's what I'll do. Okay, so here is where I'm at currently. I got Reese here with me again. I got him tied up front there so that he doesn't get into trouble or get hurt. But this is what I got done last night. Really happy with it. Nice rolled edge on that panel there. And then what I went ahead and did is trace this out on some 18 gauge and cut this up with the snips. And these are fold lines. So this is where the plate's going to mount to. It's going to be like the little pocket in there. And it's going to line up with that panel. You can see those panels meet up with that. So I'll be 10 gauge down here, but just up here where it meets the body for this from here to here, that's going to be 18 gauge all along here. And that way, if I ever get hit, the crash won't hopefully put as much shock into the body. It will mostly go lower down into the bumper and trailer hitch where it's supposed to go. So I'm kind of thinking of things like that, or trying to at least. That's why there's a gap here too, just to allow that movement if the bumper ever gets pushed in. Okay, a bit of an update here. My camera actually ran out of memory yesterday, so I was too lazy to go grab another card, and I got this exhaust tip surround done, and I realize it looks cartoonishly big right now, but when this is all plated in, like the skin of the bumper meets that, so it'll just be this hole showing. And also it will actually be trimmed back a bit. You know, I put more material there than is needed so that I can just cut the hole in the face, lay it there, weld it, and then grind it back down flush. And then of course I just have that license plate surround. I built that on camera, but I never got a chance to fit it before the memory card ran out, and I was in the zone, so I just kept going. As you can see, same thing here. There's some excess material here, but when I build in the skin, that gets trimmed back and it'll look a lot more normal and blend in with the whole thing. Okay, spectators, here's where we're at. I've got all these ribs cut and I'm just about to weld them in. I've also gone over and just cleaned up all my welds with the wire wheel and stuff, because what I want to do tonight here is get all the ribs welded in and then get a couple coats of rust paint, or at least one tonight over all of this, and then I can start laying the outer skin on it tomorrow. Okay guys, I went ahead and set this up off camera, and I also cut this brace. It's going to go in here. That's actually the other part, that handle that I had used for right there, see? So I always save things like this, and it feels good to repurpose things, I think. Okay, well here is a close-up of everything before I get paint on it. Now I'm having a lot of fun making nice weld beads because I'm not used to welding on plate like this. I do a lot of sheet metal work, and of course I don't get to lay pretty beads like that working on sheet metal, so I finally got myself one of these things so that I don't keep hurting my finger spray bombing. Okay, well I'm just going to add a second coat to all of this. before I get going here. Oh, I forgot I have to weld to here. I should have put some tape around the edge here, but oh well. I can wire wheel that back off. Okay guys, I've got this piece kind of roughed out and ready to go on. I'm going to give it a bit of a twist as I weld it on just by the clamping force. I'll weld the bogging first, which is the stronger area on the car. Well, the first piece of skin's on there. I'm not super happy with myself because I neglected to account for the fact that when I put that twist in it, it would effectively lower this end of the panel. So you can see I'm a little shy of the brace there, and I'm actually lower than it down here, so I'm able to trim that up to the brace, and that'll be perfect. This I'm just going to actually just fill with weld because, I mean, it's only a little bit. I could take a sliver of metal and weld in there too. Okay, well, I was able to reuse that same template for that. Trace it out for the other side and just added the exhaust cutout to it. Okay guys, I just finished forming out these pieces to fit on here, and I'm pretty happy with how they all turned out. Okay, well, I'm just finishing up my day here, so I've got this side all done. I mean, not done, obviously, I gotta do that up there, but I've got this all ground up nice and everything, kinda mocking up the center panel there, get an idea how that's gonna work. And you can see over here my welds, which don't look beautiful because I'm trying to fill that gap up level so that I can grind it off and have a seamless weld. Okay guys, I made this simple template, and hopefully you can see how that fits around there. So to show you how this fits here. It's not 100% yet, but it's getting really close, you can see. All done, and I'm super happy with it. Exactly what I had envisioned. You can see it's not just a straight piece, it's got a bubble to it. Okay guys, I'm just getting this license plate situation finalized, and I was going through all my fasteners, and I went through this bin of old Ford parts and found this mirror bolt, stainless mirror bolt Torx. So I thought that would be great because people will have a lot more trouble stealing my license plate. Most people don't pack around a Torx, but of course I could only find one, even though there's 3 of these bolts on each mirror, and I disassembled 2 of these vans, so I should have, you know, like a dozen of these bolts, but could only find one. But I did find the mirror in the back of the shop, which happened to have one stuck in it still. Only thing, for some reason it doesn't quite match this one. I know that's what it's off of, but maybe they're different years. So I went crazy. Like, I'm a little bit OCD if you didn't already know. And you can see the head on that one is a little more domed than the head on that one, and that's going to annoy me. So I spent like an hour searching for one of those bolts. I decided I'm going to go ahead and put this one in, even though it's a bit different, because I know somewhere in a bin I have more of them that will match. I was able to, in my searches at least, find a bunch of these little rubbers that you can put behind the plate. Okay, here we go. I've got that all prepped up. I've got those nuts welded on there with the washer side out so they have something to support the plate. And then these holes are the right size for the smaller set of those bumpers. Okay guys, I made this rear panel. It fits up here. I'll pop the trunk open and show you how that fits up. So it just fits along this lip here. So just like that. And then we'll show you with the trunk closed how that, just like that. Okay, here's a little update. I've got this area all welded in now. You can see I got that round bar across there and I dressed that all smooth, and I'm working at dressing this weld along here. I actually would have liked to have laid just a really pretty bead like I did in the corners here, but this is 10 gauge to 10 gauge and this is 18 gauge to 10 gauge, so it just didn't lay out quite as nice. And I also came down here and I just had these tabs coming down off of this piece when I put the framework together, and I decided that looks ugly just having that overlapping, so I spent about 20 minutes and ground that all off, and now I can dress this off smooth. Okay guys, I've got this cleaned up really nice now. Detailed it all out, and what I'm going to do now is I just want to seal in here really good. So I cleaned this all up with the wire brush all in the corners, everything like that. Okay, so I got these little license plate lights, just universal LED ones off Amazon. So they're just gonna pop right under there. The original Subaru lights, the harness and everything reaches here, and they're all wired in and working. But as you can see, they just weren't going to work here because, for one, the lens is clear all the way around, so they'd shoot light forward. They're made to sit up in a hole in the plastic bumper, and that just doesn't work. So these are a nice sealed little LED unit, and they only shine the one way, so it's just going to go like that. Okay, there we go. I'm pretty happy with that. I put the screws through and then I trimmed off the excess so they're not pointy, and you can see I have heat shrink over the joints, but I also have these to keep them from abrading on anything. Okay, here we go. I got that panel all in, and I'm just about to seal up behind it before I leave here tonight. Here you can see I've created the template, and that's nice because when you have a template you can fold it around and make sure that you're going to have enough material. That's the biggest thing. When you have folds in it, it takes up material, and sometimes you don't compensate for that. Unfortunately, Kellogg's has not stepped up and sponsored the channel just yet. So you can see how nicely that's fitting in there, and I'm just going to keep filling in between the spots. So I just got to grind off all those welds. Okay, well there you have it. I ground it all off, and as you can see, it's a seamless patch or panel, whatever you want to call it. I just took the remnants of the bumper off there, and what I'm going to do, of course, is use it as a pattern. So that'll work pretty good. The only problem now is I got to fill a couple holes in, and most of the studs broke off, which is why I didn't want to mess with this before. But I'll just cut off the remaining ones and fill in that hole, weld up that hole, and my bumper is going to come just below this, so you won't really be able to see this edge. You can see I have the tail lights removed now, and you can see how I've done this under there. I gotta weld up that seam, of course, and then I'll just continue on. Okay, well, I've got that piece all cut out as one piece. I put that pattern together with the plastic bumper remnants there, and just trim this out, and then I fitted it really good to the car here, and it's going to be tough to hold it up there, but I got it fitted to the body there, and then it actually has to have a little bend in it. That's right there, because it has to dip down to reach here, so it will be like a little jog down and reach over to here. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and cut the other side. So this is, of course, a mirror image of it, so I just had to flip it over and trace it out again. And just like that, there were two. Okay, here we go. This took more effort than I expected, but I've got that rib welded in there, and what I did is I put this piece of round stock there just to space it, so that's how much of a gap we're going to have. And it's in a little from the edge because this is the ribbon behind, so there's the thickness of 10 gauge that comes over top of it now, so it'll end up pretty well flush with the body by the time that's done. So now what I have to do is figure out the one that comes down here for the wheel well. I got this made. This is the template for the wheel well lip, and then I made a single one so far and curved it and fitted it, so now I have to make a second one. So I have all those marked out on the 10 gauge. Hard to even see the Sharpie marks there, but yeah, that one will go up here, one down across the bottom, and one up here. So I'm basically building the whole perimeter first, and then it'll be easy to build the piece to fit it. I've got all the pieces cut and prepped and everything. You can see I've got the framework there, and actually I made a template already and cut out a piece and cleaned it all up, so I'm ready to start forming that. Okay, well, I'm progressing on that panel, but I think I am going to slice it. I've gotten it stretched quite a bit, and if I hammered on it long enough, I think I could make it fit. I just think I can do it faster by cutting it, forming the pieces separate, and then welding it back together. I got so lost in hammering here that my shop stool kind of vibrated right off the edge there and made a big mess, but that's okay. So I want to get like a blacksmith hammer, but there are two things. I can't get one locally, so by the time I ship one here, I'll be done the project. And another thing is they're working on $50, and I'm a little short on cash right now. So my dad actually had this old ball peen kicking around. It's just a kind of a cheap one that he didn't want anymore. So what I'm going to do with it is grind a nice profile on the head of it. Here we go, a custom hammer for a custom bumper on a custom car. So that's the main profile that I'm going to be using to shape the metal. Now that's similar to a blacksmith hammer. I've got that panel all formed out now. As you can see, turned out really nice. Fits like a glove on the car. You can see there's a lot of body to that, and this new hammer worked great on it. Really happy with that, actually. So here it is, just fitting on the car. And you can see it pretty well. Fits bang on. I feel like I wasn't that productive today, but I did get this piece fully welded in, and it's quite a difficult piece actually. There's a lot of shape to it, and so I've been working away on the top piece here, and then I had to quit for the night. It's getting too late to bang on metal like I was there. And then I sat back here and looked at it for a minute and realized I was kind of going in the wrong direction anyways. I had been kind of working a bubble into this area, and I'm looking at it now and realizing that doesn't really flow with the shape of the bumper. I kind of had it planned that there was going to be a bubble in this area, and it was going to fade out into that area and back into the corner, And I realized that wasn't going to look good anyways. And when I lay my template back on here, it actually doesn't take much to get just a flat piece to fit in here. It's going to be really easy. So that's what I've done actually, is I'm going to recut. Probably can't see that. I'm going to recut 2 of those. Got that all figured out, and they're going to shape on there really easy. And what I'm going to do with this piece here that I've been working on for a couple hours on shaping, on building a body to it, and unfortunately I put slits all over it trying to make it fit over there and still couldn't get it to fit. But what I'm going to do, you can see this, this is my template for the lower piece for this side. Got to put the lower piece there. And so the fact that I already have all this body in here, it's not quite the right shape, but that's what takes all the work, all the hammering, is to stretch that metal out. And you can see I've got a lot of hammer marks anyways. So the only problem is I got these slits. So I'm going to cut this out tomorrow and weld up the slits and dress them off, so I got a solid piece of domed metal basically. And then I just have to hammer it to fit the shape over here, which, you know, I've kind of held it up there already, and I'm, you know, 3/4 of the way there. It's going to save me a lot of work. Okay, well, as you can see, I've got that other lower panel in, and then before I leave here tonight, I'm going to seal all this. You can see I put seam sealer on it last night. I'm going to seal that all in black paint, and I'll seal the back side of this all in black paint. You can see these are the pieces that I've cut out to go on here, and the thing is, I was trying to put a whole bunch of body in them that doesn't need to be there. I really just need to curve the end a little bit, and it'll kind of fit right in there. You can see I've got the bumper ends all done now. I've still got a bit of fine tuning to do on them, and then just fill in this corner, which I already have both the pieces roughed out for both corners. And then over there you can see that turned out just the same. So there's a little body to it in the corner here. There's like a little bubble, and that's kind of to mimic the original bumper a little bit. That's how the original Neon bumper was actually. Okay, so I've got that piece all prepped. I'm going to leave some slits in it, but I'm going to be welding that in here right away. Here's how this is going. I just wanted to show it as it was sort of halfway in, so you can see where all the seams are and stuff. There we go. I've got it all ground off. I got the tail light fitted in there, so you can see how that all fits. I've still got a little work to do down the edge there, some fine detail work. And there are a couple little imperfections, and they're just going to stay there because I don't want to put any body filler on it. I'm just going to paint it, and those aren't going to show particularly badly with the flat green paint I'm putting on here. I just wanted to show what I was doing here. I've got a ratchet strap just screwed to the wall with a deck screw, and I've got it holding some pressure out on here because it's wanting to warp in on me. The other side ended up just a bit proud of the body, which is how I would like this side. And as I'm welding on the corner here, it's really affecting that. Any movement here is exaggerated out here. So that's the plan now, is to finish welding this up with this pressure on here, let it all cool, and then hopefully when I release this it will spring back to the exact spot that I want. Okay, well, moment of truth here. That's right where I want it. Exactly perfect. There we go. The rear bumper is finally all complete. I've got the light brackets on there and everything, as you can see. So all I've got left to do now basically is prep it for paint. Well, I thought I was pretty well done and ready for paint here, but then I remembered I should have some recovery points on the actual corners. I was thinking of putting them here, but that doesn't really offer much advantage compared to hooking right there. So I want something right out on the corners so I can kind of direct the car where I need it when it's stuck. And I didn't want anything kind of hanging out on the front of the bumper, ruining the look, I guess. So I've made up these. They go in behind the hitch. I'll show you that in a minute. They're actually the original front tow hooks from the Subaru. You can see I cut part of the mounting bracket off, and now I'll just show you how they fit. Okay, here we are up under the bumper, and these are basically gonna go in here. I might have to trim them a bit more. Hadn't really tried them up here yet. You can see I cleaned up an area to weld to though. And then I'll be able to hang a shackle under here and hook a chain or a rope or whatever to it and pull off the corner if needed. So there's what I did right there. But I just put a piece of round stock here to brace it up so that if we're pulling on an angle on it, it's not going to bend. And then just the same thing over there too. One more little step I'm going to take is I'm just going to make a brace just with this round stock and run it from the corner of this bumper back into the trailer hitch bracket that I built in there. Just to, this is already very, very strong, but you know, I have the opportunity to make it way stronger just with that light little piece in there, so that's what I'm going to do. And same thing on the other side too. Alrighty, we're gonna get to painting, and I'm actually using this for primer. It's not really a primer, it's a good rust paint, and I just bought it on clearance, and it happens to be very similar color to what we're finishing it in. Here we go, all done. I went ahead and assembled everything too, so I've got the winch in there now and everything. It's a bit of a pain putting that winch in there. I have to unspool all the cable to get it to clear the brackets and slip in there. And I finally took the tape off the tip so you can see what I was going for there. I think it looks pretty cool. I went ahead and took the sheets off the back wheels just so you could get the full effect, and I cleaned up the back of the car a little bit, just wiped off the dust. Well, as you can see, I've pretty well got the back end of the car all wrapped up here, and I'm really happy with how it's turned out. So thanks a lot for watching along. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and have yourself a great day.